am Mars.
Hi.
I'm Mars, and I'm being forced to watch Twin Peaks.
And I'm Dade. And I'm being forced to make a podcast.
And apparently being forced to talk over me. Now I'm wanting to talk.
It's very awfully bold.
Awfully bold. Hello, Dade. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I ate a big bag of hot chips, and I'm here to talk about some Twin Peaks.
I was just stuffing my mouth with some pretzels. Some big, fat pretzels.
Dude, I love it. I've been wanting a soft pretzel lately. A little mustard.
That sounds really good. We should go to a mall after this.
Yeah, we should go to a mall. That would be great. We can go to Auntie Anne's. I'll get the nacho cheese. You can get the mustard.
Yeah. It's only 11 p.m. I'm sure they're open.
Yeah, probably.
Hey, so this episode, do you want to talk about it?
I'd love to. What's your first note, buddy?
So first off, I guess this one is a little episodic, a little bit, in the sense that this is Laura Palmer's funeral, and we will be dealing with that. It's kind of what opens it up. It's one of the first things we learn is that it's Laura Palmer. Why can I say that? Laura Palmer.
It's Laura Palmer.
It's Laura Palmer.
Hey, freaking Laura Palmer died. Can you believe it?
And we start with a hard watch because it's immediately Audrey, Agent Cooper flirting, which again still weird because he's like a high schooler. I'm pretty sure like it's a little odd, but I'll be damned. My boy's got game. Cooper, he was kind of smooth with it by the end. I was getting butterflies in my tummy.
Yeah, no. See, if he was hitting on anybody else, if he was hitting on me, for example, his smooth talking would have worked. What was the thing that he said? He said you have like a gorgeous heart.
I don't remember, but I was too lost in his eyes to recall.
He said something to the effect of like, you have a beautiful heart. Like, don't, be careful. Not don't be careful. You have a gorgeous heart. Be careful. And then he like walks away like a bad boy. Or no. She walks away.
She walks away. I believe he says something to that effect, and he's like, be careful. You might get your heart broken.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And she's like, Cooper. And then she runs away.
I really don't believe that Cooper. I get the vibe that he is almost leading her on to like get information out of her.
It's a good call because I do feel like Cooper knows more than he leads on even to the audience. So
he like plays it dumb sometimes.
Yeah, maybe he's he has to flirt with this teen. I don't know.
I mean, he did get her because in that scene, he gets her to give her like he gets a ton of information from her. Like number one, he figures out that the note that was under the door at the end of the last episode was written by her, and she gives a bunch of info.
Because like she's fallen for him, and he's like Audrey, can you do me a favor and write your name down for me? And she writes her name down, and he compares the text like immediately.
Yeah, it's kind of a gotcha moment, honestly, where he like instantly pulls the little note, flips it up, and then goes, So you left me a note last night? Curious,
even.
Yeah, and then she spills the beans.
Yeah, what she talks about Laura is like, oh, I hate that bitch. No, I'm kidding. She didn't say that, but she revealed she's not best friends with them, but that's a good thing because she like knew a side of her that other people didn't know or something.
Yeah, she was like, I knew Laura better than most. I don't know why I give her a New York accent. I knew Laura better than most.
I knew Laura better than you, Mr. J.
Mr. J, I knew her real good.
So Audrey leaves, and I'm going to go a little quick with these notes. A lot happens in this.
Yeah, this is a dense one.
Like almost immediately after Audrey leaves, Harry and Lucy show up in the hotel that Cooper is staying at, and they take her spot, Audrey's spot, and they're like, you can clearly tell they're like, Cooper, just tell us like the information. You told us that you know the killer in the last episode, and Cooper's just like fucking around saying random shit to them.
Yeah, he's like, oh, let's get breakfast. And he like orders breakfast.
Yeah, he's like ordering a big old thing of breakfast. Like, oh, pancakes with ham, please, and syrup all over it. You know, as he's saying it, you can see like Harry like staring daggers into him across the table, like, bruh.
And you know what, too? I was living in Dale's shoes for that moment because I was excited that he was getting breakfast because he's talking about like, oh, you know, I'm gonna when the ham and when the syrup hits that honey ham, ooh, and he's like claps his hands and I'm like, yeah, and then he goes, anyway, about the murder. I'm like, what?
Anyway, so the murder.
And I was right there. I was like, oh shit, that's right. He has not.
You have me on
it.
the edge, Cooper. I just wish you would count down and look at the camera. I'm sorry.
You're
says,
bad. You're bad.
I'm bad.
You're bad. I want ice cream and coffee.
Shut up! I'm talking.
Jesus, I'm just thinking about food.
I don't give a shit. This episode's long.
This episode is long. It was a lot. What do you got next?
I have to like push you back with a fucking shovel so we can get through this. Like from Mars's perspective, I was probably like typing up a storm during that whole episode.
It was like,
so much shit.
Something would happen and Dave would just go.
So he reveals his dream, like the stuff that happens in the dream. Some things are revealed, like stuff we kind of already know. But just to recap a little bit, Mike is the one-armed man, and he vowed to never kill again with Bob, and Bob is going to kill again. And he's pretty sure Bob is the murderer. But Dale's like not 100% because they don't know who Bob is like controlling. And Cooper says at the end, break the code, solve the crime. And that's a pretty good catchline for this show, I would say. Break the code, solve the crime. We'll touch more on that later, that particular phrase, later in the show. But it's interesting. What do you think of the revelations Cooper talked about with the dream?
Well, what I love about it is he really spells out that whole last sequence, which I can only imagine was very satisfying, going week to week, and then having it be like, oh, finally, and then he just fully explains like, yeah, so there's Mike and Bobby and this and that, and then he like really, I liked how thorough it was. I'm definitely curious about what Mike and Bobby have to do with the Bob. Sorry, there's already a Bobby.
It's okay. There's a Bobby and a Mike. Mike is the fucking blonde kid, and Bobby is Bobby Briggs.
Oh, interesting that there's like a whole thing.
That's why Harry says Mike and Bobby, and Dale goes, no, this is another Mike and Bob.
See, because the thing I'm wondering about this is like it still doesn't like clear up what they have to do with Laura's murder, and if they're like, because it's like the vibe that I get is that those dudes are not with us; they're like ghost men or ideas. I'm not really sure.
Mike and Bob.
Yeah, Mike and Bob, because they like haven't confirmed they're like real ass people.
Well, we did see Mike.
Yeah, we did see the one-armed man. That is true, but he was more like no, because Hawk saw him. Because Hawk remembers seeing him in the hospital, and I'm like, Hawk, get your mind out of the proverbial gutter.
No, it literally sounded like he said cock there.
Well, I said Hawk. Okay. Yeah, so I guess maybe that guy's real. I guess Bob would have to be real too, huh? Yeah, I don't know. It's a pickle. This is very confusing. Like a lot of big info came out, and I felt like I understood it until just now when you asked me if I understood it.
And now it's you know what, Mars? Don't think about it too hard. Just feel it.
Yeah, what it feels
like you know it, then you know it.
What it feels like is that they're like ideas rather than like people.
On to the next note here, because again, there is a lot.
Tons.
I wrote down this, and I want to know if you can remind me, because I don't know what this means. I wrote down, who was it? I don't remember.
Thought there'd be more. What?
Oh, that was a quote. Laura speaks something into Dale's ear and says the name of the killer, and Harry and Lucy go, who was it? And Cooper goes, I don't remember. Which is funny because you were like, man, he remembers everything of his dream. And like right after you said that, immediately they go, "Who was it? I don't remember."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then I love too that it's like he's so thorough and he's like deducted all these things, and then at the very end he's like, and then he was like, yeah, and then it was years later, and they whispered the killer into my ear. I don't remember.
Like, I don't fucking know. Like the most important part of the entire dream.
But he's so convinced, crack the code, solve the crime.
Crack the code. Or break the code, solve the crime.
Break the code, solve the crime. That's the big thing about this episode. I forget where they have to go
So,
next though.
well, I was about to say.
Well, you should say.
Um, quickly, they get called by Andy that there's a fight at the morgue, and it's betwixt the morgue owner and Albert, the new
right.
agent. And Albert is causing up a storm. Albert stands by that he should be able to basically mutilate the body as much as he wants to find out the secrets of Laura. Meanwhile, the morgue owner is like, bro, there's a funeral in like a couple hours. We're not going to like send the body out all fucked up. It needs to go underground.
I love too that I think at one point he refers to what he needs to do as cutting and pasting.
Yeah, he's like, there's going to be a lot of cutting and pasting, so you might want to head out or something. He's like holding a drill gun. This is by the time Cooper and Harry show up, and they they unplug his drill, and Albert has a one-on-one with Harry, where Harry is not so pleased with Albert and expresses this via punching him in the face.
Yeah, well, because Albert's being like real shitty about it. Like he's throwing around some real like college boy insults at Truman. Like he's basically the whole time Albert is in town, he is calling everybody a stupid hick the whole time.
Pretty much, they're calling them like redneck country boys and shit. And he's like, "Oh, it makes sense for a hayseed like you, dude, to care this much or something."
Yeah, he deserves to be punched.
And it's a very satisfying punch too, because at this point, you want Albert to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
He's a bitch.
Yeah, he's literally like talking about how he's like the best ever, and everyone should listen to what he's doing, and that everyone sucks, and then just like and then also this really rubbed me the wrong way. When Cooper gets there, he like grabs Cooper by the arm and like walks him over to the situation. It's so weird.
You're talking about him like he's a real guy. Give me ick vibes.
He does. He's an ick. He's 100% ick.
I love Albert. I love that he's shitty, honestly. I think a good show has shitty people in it.
I agree.
And has great people like Cooper. And so Cooper and Albert working together just makes for a grand old time in my book. So after this, there's not much to say there. We'll touch on it a little bit further because it comes back up. We get a fun little thing here where we find, I think we had already seen this TV show, but there's a soap opera within Twin Peaks. I can't remember the name of the show. I'll probably remember it next time. But there's like a soap opera that plays within the world of Twin Peaks, and a lot of the characters are really into it. And I want to know if you catch this. Did you catch anything when you were watching the soap opera inside the show?
Nothing that stuck, no.
This is a fun little detail I didn't realize till earlier. I'd found this out when I was like searching around. So this is the scene where Laura's cousin Madeline / Maddie gets introduced, and it is played by the actress who plays Laura Palmer. And exactly right before we see her, in the fake TV show playing, they subtly reveal during the intro that an actress is playing two different characters.
Yeah.
It's a cute little detail of like, oh, this actress is playing this and this, and then you immediately see Laura Palmer.
Yeah,
in the next job, it's the cousin.
That bit was a little lost on me. That's a shame. That's actually pretty funny because it is literally too. It's like there's like a good version and an evil version too. It's like very different characters.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We'll see more of cousin Maddie soon, but I always love that, and I already told you this when we're watching it, but for anyone who doesn't know, they quickly hired Laura Palmer's actor or actress to basically just be a dead body for the first episode, and that's it. But when she was shooting that clip of her out with Donna, like dancing and being recorded,
Mm-hmm.
they loved her so much and they loved her performance so much. They basically wrote cousin Maddie into the show so that she would have more to do
You know
because they just loved her actress so much.
what I love about that is like the whole show, everybody in town is like constantly fawning over the person they remember as being Laura Palmer, and I love that actually happened to the people making the show. Is
They just love her so much.
yeah, they were like, wow, she rocks. We're just gonna actually keep her. She's as good as we wrote her to be.
And we're going to touch on that later too, because it actually kind of comes up in a different way.
Mm.
But another little note I want to add, apparently is the same situation for Shelley, either Shelley or Norma, one of them. They really liked the actress when she auditioned for a different role, so they basically wrote another role for that character, or for that actress to play that character. So there's a lot of characters you probably just got added because they love those actors and actresses so much.
That's kind of sweet though. That the show is that lightweight though. That they were like that flexible. They could just be like, you know what, they ruled. Let's write a character.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Like, as much as there is a bunch of writers on it and a lot of pre-planning, there's also a lot of just making it up on the fly and just going with it that I love.
Yeah. It comes off sometimes like there's like two versions of a scene that they shot where like one's serious and one's goofy and they're just intersplicing it. That's how legit how it feels sometimes.
I wouldn't doubt it, but the next scene we get, speaking of serious to goofy, well, we go straight to Dale talking about ducks on the lake.
Oh yeah. He's
He's
stoked.
very excited to see ducks on the lake, which I love. That's such a very real person thing. I knew someone who had never seen tumbleweed before because they lived in the big city and saw tumbleweed when they came over to my city and were very excited. So I got reminded of that.
Dude, I'd
They're
go
legitimately, they like pointed at the tumbleweed and like, it's like the movies.
That's funny.
During this scene, Harry and Dale, keep saying Dale like we're friends. Cooper, Agent Cooper.
You said that
Cooper
last
and
episode.
Harry.
It's okay. He's a fictional character.
Yeah, I know, but like, I want to put some respect on his name. People call him Cooper. Dale feels like we're dating.
You gotta be like Special Agent Cooper.
Special.
Wait.
Audrey, it's not Colonel. It's Agent Cooper.
We could
Special
call him.
Agent Cooper.
We'd call him Sack. It's like Special Agent Cooper, Sack.
You remember he said that at this show? He's like Special Agent Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Of course I remember.
Anyways.
Of course, it's been 3 episodes and you think I forgot? I did.
It was this episode.
Was this episode? Oh, dude.
Yeah,
No.
it was the start of this episode where Audrey's like, hello, Colonel Cooper. And Cooper is like, it's just Agent Cooper, Audrey. Special Agent Cooper.
Nope.
So, you know what? Maybe you should take back that sassy little tone you had when you said that you did remember it. Anyways, they're going to talk to Leo because Leo is obviously some sort of serial killer. He is scary as hell. And Cooper, when he like first goes there, he's like, Leo, is that short for Leonard or Leonard or something? I forget. And Leo's immediately like, these are the questions you're asking? And Cooper goes /SRS.
Yeah.
He's serious as fuck after that. It's pretty sick. Like, he goes, do you know Laura Palmer? And Leo goes, no, I don't. He's like, you're lying to me, Leo. I know you know Laura Palmer. And he's like, everyone knows her and all this. And he's like, what? You think? No. Cooper goes, have you ever done a crime? And he's like, no. And then he immediately starts bringing up all of his fucking misdemeanors and assault cases.
Dude, honestly, Dale is so hardcore in this scene because I didn't think anybody could stand up to Leo. He seems like a murderous psychopath. And like, I love that Dale is not afraid at all of Leo.
Dude, Cooper is like cold as fuck in this episode. This is a strangely somber episode for him where we get slash SRS Dale at his
Yeah,
best.
he's not playing around.
He's not fucking with shit. So after this scene, I feel like we're gonna have different views on this one. Because we always do. But because I always see this as funny, but you always see this very seriously. You get a scene with Bobby and his dad. I think it's a corporal, Major Briggs. Major Briggs, that's his name. And they're, I think, at the church or at the house. They're
the house,
next
yeah.
to, they're at the house and they're next to a cross. And Major Briggs is basically sitting him down for a talk. And I love this scene. First off, great acting. Like, it's all one shot too, like uncut one shot. And they're doing a lot of little small things that's kind of, you don't really notice. Like Bobby's kind of like playing with his lighter in various different ways, like hovering his hand over it while Major Briggs like rants about their relationship.
Did you notice what was on the wall behind them?
What was it?
So when
it was a cross. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it was. No, the Major walks in and there's a cross, like a memorial to Laura Palmer on the wall, almost.
Oh yeah, I did notice that.
And there's crossed palm leaves behind the cross.
I didn't know the crossed palm leaves.
It's pretty neat. But yeah, it's weird. Especially I still think this. Bobby, I get the vibe that he's like he just like it just seems like he was raised by nobody. It's like every time he tries, like, cause he seems like he's living in the real world, but in like a weird way. And his parents are both living in like a fantasy realm together.
Which is so funny because whenever I see these scenes, I get what you mean, but I just can't not laugh at it. It's just so ridiculous of this. Because again, I don't ever see military men like talk about their feelings and shit and be like and like be so self-aware. They're usually some of the most pent up people I've ever met in my life, and I feel like the whole joke is supposed to be that Major Briggs is so spiritual and open, and like Bobby's like, whatever, Dad, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't give a fuck. And he's like, I'm gonna go tear that place up when I get there to the funeral.
See, because I love that you see it as like a cop. Because to me, I see it as like Bobby's doing like multiple cries for help, and it's just constantly like he's just at this point he's so frustrated that there's like nobody who's willing to be real with him that he just does all this illegal shit.
It is very funny. We see Bobby way differently.
Yeah, I see him as like weirdly tortured.
I see
he's
him
a
as
shithead, but
asshole. He's a fucking dickhead in my eyes.
Oh, he sucks. He sucks so hard. He's the worst. But I always wonder if he had different parents, would he have turned out different?
I guess that's fair enough. I think that will be a continuous thing for those characters because I have always thought Major Briggs. Well, I love Major Briggs as a character, but I think he's hilarious.
I get why he would be hilarious. I just like how divisive it is. Like, it's a good way. It's like a good way because we talk about like how interpreting this show can be like different for other people. You get like your own sort of story out of it. And for me, I get like a weird tragedy from Bobby.
I think it's interesting because there's scenes that I could see be funny and scenes that I read as sad, like the scene of the cops showing up to Leland. I find heartbreaking and you find hilarious.
It was a little funny.
Sure, okay. And see, that's the thing, is that it's completely different. And on like one watch through, that scene where they're finding out that Laura died in the first episode at the school, like sometimes I think that scene's just heartbreaking. And then there's that shot of James breaking the pencil and looking like a sad boy. And sometimes I just crack up laughing watching that. So it's a show where you will feel different every time you watch it, probably.
Yeah, and I want to talk about James in this episode too at some point because he does come up.
We'll get to James.
Yeah. Speaking of the devil.
Next on the thing, we actually get. This is where Albert talks to. I'm trying to remember who it is. It's Harry and Cooper, and telling them about the autopsy report that he did, he found out some things like she was roped up when it happened, but multiple times throughout the night.
Mhm.
Um, Cooper points this to his dream where Laura says, "Sometimes my arm's been back," because the position Albert says Laura was in was her arms were literally bent back behind her.
Yeah.
And a little extra things like there was cocaine in her system that counted positive. Um, Nothing really too interesting, but we get some more tension between Harry and Albert. And at one point, they mention there's scratches on Laura's body, and Harry goes, "Oh, must have been animals." And Albert replies, "Look, it's trying to think."
Such a dick. You know,
I fucking love it.
what's such
Such a
a
good line.
it's devastating, that line. Uh, the thing that makes me what I think about during the scene with him is like he's actually really good at his job.
He's great. He
He,
even says, "Who knows what I would have found if I had more time."
but honestly, you found a lot. Like that's the thing. He like got like he was extremely quick about it. It was very informative. He even like moves his body into the positions he thinks that Laura Palmer had been tied in. It's very he clearly has become like really good at what he does. He does not deserve to be a dick to everybody though. He's not
It's
earned that.
it's it's interesting, because he's good at his job, but he's a dick about it, and we get a real interesting part of that where after Harry leaves, they're all leaving to go to the funeral, but Albert stops Cooper to talk to him alone, and he's such a bitch. I wrote this down earlier, I think, where I said Albert is always starting shit. This is like one of it. He brings a paper up with Cooper basically being like, "I need you to sign here," basically acknowledging that you saw what happened, that Harry did punch me and assault me today, and like all this stuff. And Cooper goes, "Albert, I'm not going to sign this." And he goes on a very beautiful monologue about how he thought, like the world had kind of died out and stopped caring about, all the tragedies in the world. And he says murder is not a faceless event here in Twin Peaks, and that love and peace are still very much alive here in this town. It's a
That,
very touching monologue.
especially when he says like he says it with such an endearing tone to him, like, "Hey man, I get where you come from because I come from there too, but this place, somebody dies, it means something." And that's like, oh, damn. And also literally right after that scene, if you don't mind me saying, right after that scene.
There's some more stuff I want to talk
Okay.
about this scene. So I don't know how far you want to go ahead.
Immediately after Albert leaves the room.
When he talks to Diane.
Yeah.
I have something real quick before that.
Yeah, go for it. We'll touch it anyway.
So there's an kind of a theory, and I'm not going to say this is like whether or not this is the most popular theory or not. I found this to be an interesting theory that Twin Peaks is about consuming violence in media, and how there's a giant focus on Laura Palmer's death and the effect that it has. And at this time, shows were very episodic, like as I've mentioned many times. Everything was wrapped up in 30 minutes, and it just felt like you would just use up the victims and throw them away. So the fact that Twin Peaks cared enough to keep talking about this character and showing the effects the death of one person has in a community, and especially the line, "Murder is not a faceless event here," really hits this, I guess, quote unquote, theory or this perspective. I find that to be the most poignant here.
It is very refreshing too to see how each person, because, well, I won't spoil, but there are some other things said that really back this whole thing up later in the episode, but you really do get to see like how deeply intertwined and complicated the death is too. Like they go into such detail to talk about all of the little things that have changed since her death, and the like power balances that have shifted in everyone's lives, and they just keep bringing it all up. Like everyone's shit is fucked up now that Laura Palmer is dead. Everybody from Bobby to Mike to the rich folks in the hotel to like just everybody. Everyone has something wrong with them now. Jacoby.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I really like that theory because it's backed up a lot by the show. But next is the Diane part where Albert leaves, and if you would like to explain this part.
I thought this was very sweet. He as soon as Albert leaves the room, after giving his big like, I like Twin Peaks, you're a dick speech, he pulls out his recorder and he basically just asks Diane to be like, hey Diane, can you check all my like my money stuff that I have going on so that you can see if I can afford a plot of land somewhere? I have a feeling the price will be very reasonable. It was like something
Very
like that.
Little nod to him saying the prices here are very reasonable with the hotel and food.
I just love that he's
Love that
been here
little
for what, 4 days?
Probably around that, I would say.
He's been here for about 4 days and he wants to live here.
I mean, the place is gorgeous.
He's got everything he wants.
If I could live anywhere, it would be Twin Peaks.
I do love the idea of him settling down in town.
And he did say that. That's one of your big predictions.
It does feel like it. It feels like it's almost, there's a lot of talk of dreams. This is kind of his dream place.
Is very true. And I want to go next because Mars, not to scare you, we are not even halfway through this list.
No fucking way. Yeah, let's keep it up.
Okay, so next we get a scene with Nadine and Ed, and we get a backstory, which this is a very tragic part because Nadine, who is very much in love with Ed during this scene, but Ed is very visibly not in love with her and very tired of her. It's revealed that Ed and Norma were a thing back in high school and were a couple, and Nadine was not noticed by them, but somehow ended up with Ed and is very happy about the ending. And as we know, Ed is not happy about being with her instead of Norma.
It's
very tragic.
Yeah, it's rough watching that scene. I think I just kept going, oh no, out loud as the revelation of like, not only is he cheating on her with his high school sweetheart, but she thinks that that it's over. She thinks she got him. Oh, yeah, it
is fucking rough. It is a rough ass scene.
Props to the writers. That is a beautifully complicated and uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, I feel bad for both Nadine and Ed in that part.
Yeah, although it is on Ed for not breaking it off, but it would probably destroy Nadine.
Yeah, well, you'll learn a bit more about it too. There is more to this, but no spoilers. Immediately after this, while they're still hugging and kissing and talking about this, James busts in from his motorcycle, and he just comes in, and Ed's like, James, are you going to the funeral? And he's like, I can't do it. And then he immediately turns around, slams the door, and drives off.
Yeah, because my first thought
what I wrote here is James is so fucking dramatic.
Yeah, it's like you just came over. I think you said this. It's like you just came over to tell them that.
Just came over to say, I can't do it. And then like, I'm not going. And then run away.
Yeah, you get what? He walks in, he leaves the door open, lets the bugs in, and then he just runs away.
James, he's an interesting character. He's such a weird guy. He's like supposed to be the sad pretty boy, but I feel like even the show knows he's lame.
he's almost like he's making fun of that archetype.
Probably, honestly. He's supposed to be like maybe making fun of the heartthrob character a little bit. But speaking of going against what we thought, you get a scene where Audrey, who's prepared for the funeral, casually opens up a door to the wall and starts going into the wall. Which, by the way, I want to note, when that happened, at this point, when I was watching the show originally, I was just like, okay, there's a hole in the wall where Audrey can go and see it all.
Yeah, she's the best part is she's at home. She's listening to her parents argue about her brother at the hotel.
That is their home, but yeah.
Listening to her parents through a door, like, argue about her brother. And then she just casually, like, the best part is she does it without missing a beat. She, like, almost at the pace of somebody walking through a real door. She like squats down and slips through this little tiny door into the wall.
Which is funny because I mentioned this was so normal for me, but it was normal for me when I watched it this time. But you audibly went out, what?
Okay.
You're like, yeah, you're like, okay.
She could just go behind the wall.
Confused. You know, it was just like, yeah, that's going to be this show. And she opens up a little peephole into her brother's, where her brother is wearing a native headdress, and Dr. Jacoby is there to like calm him down and take off the hat so they can go to the funeral, or the headpiece, my bad. And he takes it off, and what he wrote down is Dr. Jacoby kind of competent at his job, question mark.
Yeah, he kind of did it.
Well. Yeah, he actually handled it pretty well. I forget the name of the brother, but he like calms down, they hug. He seems much more relaxed.
Johnny, I believe.
That sounds right. Johnny Sins. Not kidding.
Yeah, it's weird too that Audrey is there to observe it. Like, there's like so many times when it's like, I'm just curious why this character is in this scene. There's so much of that in this show, though.
Well, I do kind of like that it's her, honestly, because earlier, if you remember, she was like, I did like Laura a little bit because she took care of my brother, and I assume this was kind of her weird way of enforcing that and making sure no one's like taking advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like Dr. Jacoby's kind of weird, so maybe this is her way of just like checking in on her family.
You know, honestly, I thought Audrey was like a bad girl or like evil. She's kind of
is.
Well, she kind of is. That's the thing. She's like neutral. She like doesn't care.
People have layers in this show.
Like an apple.
That's a famous quote. Like an apple.
Like an apple.
Apples and all those layers.
What happens next?
I guess 3 if you count the core.
Yeah, 4 if you count the seeds.
Gotta get moving. I think this is something you said, which is Laura was friends with everyone.
It's true.
I forget what this is in reference to. I think somebody was like, yeah, I knew Laura. Oh, the priest.
Yeah.
We're at the funeral, and the priest is talking about how he knew Laura. And you're like, God, Laura was friends with everyone.
Yeah, the priest is like, he actually says this really, because this was in reference to what I said earlier in this podcast, where she was like, I was like, everyone respects her, but the priest says something really beautiful where he says, we all loved her with that special kind of love that we save for the brave and the bold. I was like, damn,
yeah.
That's very poignant, and that's probably the best way you could say you love kind of a random stranger without it being weird. And also he does say that he's like, and Laura used to tell me I talk too much, which is like, damn, who didn't she hang out with?
That's what love is. Her effect is like so felt in every single way possible.
It's insane.
But everyone here in the town, all the main characters basically are here. At least all the main, no, pretty much every main character is here, and it kind of gets broken up. Audrey's brother says amen really loudly after the priest finishes the speech.
Yeah, everyone's into it.
And right after that, Bobby goes amen as well, and he calls everyone a hypocrite because he's like, everyone knew she was hurting, but no one helped her.
Mm-hmm.
And like, how can we sit around and act like we missed her when, you know, we killed her, basically. Which I find curious because you have the theory that Bobby is a very tragic character.
Mm-hmm.
Very tragic, emotional character. And this kind of lines up with that a bit of him pointing out everyone's hypocrisy. And what do you think of this, of Bobby calling out everyone?
You know, this was like I like this. Like, I'm just gonna say, if you're not watching the show, you totally should, because this was a really good scene with Bobby where he like, you just like feel his pain in a weird twisted way, because he's been a real psycho for most of the show, but in this moment it's like, oh damn, that's what he's thinking about this whole time, is he's just thinking about how complicated and fucked up the situation was and how like nobody really helped at all. Like it really struck me. It like turned, because I was like, oh, he definitely had something to do with her death or like was involved in some way, and now it's like, I don't know, I don't think so.
I'm very curious to think about or to see what you think about the movie.
Man, the movie's gonna be interesting. All I know
Do
is
you
that
know
it's.
what the movie is?
I only know it's a prequel. That's all I know.
Which upset a lot of people.
I think that's cool. That makes sense to me.
People, well, you'll find out. Season two ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and it kind of angered people that
Oh, does the movie come out?
the movie came out after season two, and the show
Interesting.
got canceled. And the movie was kind of made in the hopes of getting the show's interest back in, but it was a prequel and didn't handle the season two, and people were mad. They were like, oh, this is dumb. Why are we still talking about Laura Palmer and all that?
Damn.
So we'll get more into that later. But the scene with Bobby, I feel like will really ring once we watch that. But immediately right after this, James James has been revealed that he actually did come. He's so
Yeah.
fucking dramatic. Of course he came, and he's like standing by a tree by himself, of course,
Like
and he's like slowly
every
walking,
funeral in a movie or TV show ever, there's someone by a tree.
which I love. It feels like a parody of that scene already with James, and he gets closer, and eventually Bobby sees James, and he's pissed. But James is actually the first one to like start rushing Bobby because
Which was
Bobby's talking
shocking.
shit. Yeah, you were very shocked by that.
Yeah, because the whole time James is in the prison cell and he's freaked out by Bobby and Mike, and it's like this whole. They're creepy. They're creepy psychos who want to kill him, and then James is the one who snaps. It just was like, damn, James, you got a lot of anger in you, and I may have misread you.
It's very interesting. He starts fighting. Everyone gets all uh, up to to stop them from fighting because Bobby like basically fucking pounces on him, and Ed reps him away, and I forget who it is who takes Bobby away,
It's
and
a
but while they're
Mikey,
yelling at each other, what?
Mikey. He's in the
Okay,
episode for just that scene.
yeah, that sounds right. But while that's happening, Leland, Laura Palmer's dad, is very heartbroken and jumps into the grave hole on top of the coffin, which the coffin is knocked all the way down, but it's on a machine because coffins are like brought down mechanically. And the way it works is his body is like pushing it down with force, but the thing is like set to be at the top state, so it tries to bring it back up, but his weight keeps triggering it to drop. And it go and while he's like very sad and like sobbing, and his wife is like begging him like, Leland, stop, it just is going
It's like getting stuck and like grinding at some points.
which Mars found very amusing. This
How
is
could I
one of
not laugh? There's a man weeping on a coffin as it goes up and down in a grave, and everyone just watches and they don't know what to do.
I did write a note of Mars laughs at Leland's grieving,
That's
which
fine.
which is very interesting because the very next scene after Mars laughs, we see very I don't know sad. I always thought the scene is like kind of mean of Shelley's laughing about Leland
Yeah, that was fucked
in
up.
front of two strangers, like basically recreating it with their hand, which is funny that you find it fucked up because that's what you did.
Yeah, you see, I can't affect the characters in that world, and she can.
I guess that's fair enough. But
If this was real life and I was there to witness this, I wouldn't laugh about it at all. It would be horrifying. but be,
Mars has to make an apology for Leland,
yeah, but this is just like it's make believe. It's TV. It's supposed to happen.
which is an interesting point about the show.
Poignant.
There's you know how I was talking about a lot of people think that maybe there's a theory of death. So the thing about consumable violence in media is the thought that people don't care enough about the grieving and like death, and a lot of people think that's what the show's about, is making a point of taking these deaths seriously and realizing death in media is a very disgusting view of it.
I thought of a funny meme just now.
Yeah, while I was talking about taking death seriously.
Yeah, I was thinking about, those memes where it's somebody looking at a property, but they're like missing the point of the property and just saying something stupid. It's just me looking at Twin Peaks going, oh, Dale Cooper. And then
It's
just
super funny.
Dale Cooper funny. And then just like everything you said in a text bubble above me, like missing me. I'm just listening to you like, yeah, it's about all these very serious things, Mars. And then it's just like,
Dale
what?
Cooper funny.
Dale Cooper funny.
Yeah, that's fair. This is your first watcher. I don't expect you to honestly think about it too hard.
I'm thinking about it super hard.
I don't doubt you are, but I did not think about it that hard when I first watched it. If I'm being honest with you, and I think that's a perfectly valid way to watch it. I think the real way to kind of enjoy it, or there's no real way, but the real way for me is just kind of taking it in and then thinking about it after all of it, once you've gotten all the puzzle pieces. Because you need the whole jigsaw puzzle pieces to put it together, right?
I could make some new ones.
Okay. So after this, it's revealed this is a very interesting scene. Ed is hanging out with Harry and Hawk. They're all hanging out at the R Cafe.
Yeah.
And Cooper shows up, hang with them, hang with the boys. He gets a huckleberry pie with 2 slices of vanilla ice cream and a coffee.
Can I interrupt real fast?
Sure.
Small note, I just realized something. I realized something earlier when we watched the episode, but I wanted to say, it hit me. RR Diner, red room, red letters on the diner. That has not been lost on me.
See, I never put that together either. So I thought that was interesting. Mars brought that up.
I kind of wonder, does the floor of the diner match the red room?
I believe it's a black and white checkerboard.
Black and white zigzag, could be.
Yeah, I could definitely see some comparisons to be made. Because also in the red room, wait, that's a spoiler. Never mind. So
there's Laura Palmer's killer. No, I'm just kidding.
Norma's serving pie there. No,
Norma says I did it.
I killed her. So it's found out that apparently Ed was on a stakeout in the first episode and got slipped a drug. That's why he passed the fuck out. It's also revealed that there's a big drug problem in Twin Peaks.
Huge.
That they've been dealing with and been trying to figure out. And they basically assume that it's Jacques, who's the middleman at the Roadhouse. He's the bartender or owner, one of them. And they're trying to deal with that. But before we get into that, we get a very great line. This is another kind of famous line by Dale, if you will, where he gets the pie and takes a bite and he goes, "This must be where pie goes when they die."
Yeah, so it's it's one of those things that he says and you have to think about it for a second. He goes, what did he mean just now?
It's where pies go when they die because it's that good. It's pie heaven.
Oh, as a food fan, I want to say, great choice, by the way. He doesn't just he wants huckleberry pie. They say, hey, you want some huckleberry pie? He orders it, but he also asks for vanilla ice cream and a coffee. What a genius. I've never had that combination. It sounds delicious.
Sounds absolutely scrumptious. I want one right now.
Oh, hot coffee, vanilla, and a little pie. I mean, dude, we gotta go to the diner after this.
Yeah, let's go. After we're done at the mall and we get our pretzels, let's go to the diner.
Yeah, we're gonna gain 10 pounds from today.
I'm not gonna be able to fit in my sweater.
I'm not gonna be able to fit in my custom tailored suit that you made.
Yeah, actually, never mind.
But I will be able to fit into this next note.
Stop trying to segue me. I'll segue when I DM, please.
Okay. So after we go to the mall, do you want to play GameCube?
So the Bookhouse Boys is revealed.
Such a weird reveal.
Harry, Ed, and Hawk are like, Cooper, we want to introduce you to something. There's these men who have been dealing with the problems in Twin Peaks. They specifically say there's a darkness in the forest.
Yeah.
That people like them, like Harry, Hawk, and Ed, have dealt with their whole lives, and their fathers before them, and all that. And apparently, they're in a group called the Bookhouse Boys. Bring Cooper there, and it's at some like broken down restaurant where there's books everywhere. It's like a mini library.
It's pretty sick, honestly. It's a very cozy setup. It's like a diner bar, but then as you walk along the diner bar, there's like these little compartments that have been sort of crafted into the room, and one of them is just a giant book library.
It's very cute and like very comfy, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And how?
But James is there. James is there with someone, and they also have Jock's brother all tied up. And Jock's brother reveals that he did get the cocaine, but just for himself. But they know that he's lying, and Jock's brother tells him where Jock is right now, and Jock like is walking to the red house and sees a red light flashing, and apparently that's a sign from his brother that shit's bad.
He's been made.
Like, yeah, he gets the fuck out. He goes to a phone call up Leo, and Leo's like, "Yo, don't worry, dog. I got you. I'm on my way, fam." And he passes Shelly, who Shelly's like, "Okay, bye, bitch. I don't care." And it's revealed she has a gun.
And a nice one, too. It's like a nice, fancy-looking gun.
Yeah, it's a very nice gun. She hides it away in a compartment.
In her kitchen, she like has a panel that comes out. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty fucking sick, honestly. I only really mentioned this because I just kind of forgot about this scene. There's not much to say about what happens, except Shelly has a gun now, which I find interesting, and Cooper now knows about the Bookhouse Boys.
And also, a small thing I think is very funny. Jacques' brother, Jacques himself does not have a French accent, but his brother has the phoniest French accent I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's literally like a cartoon character doing a French accent. Like, oh no, I have not seen my brother.
I've seen him. Oh.
Like, I was like, have we heard Jacques talk before? Was there a French guy in town? Nope, just that guy.
No, because Jock just talks perfectly normal, I'm pretty sure.
I legit didn't know that was Jacques in that scene until you said it was Jacques in that scene where he calls Leo, because I was like, who the fuck is this guy? It's just some dude. And he doesn't have a French accent or anything. He doesn't like...
It's not his brother, because he doesn't have a French accent.
Well, if I've never seen this guy before.
That's true. I think you see him very briefly in the first episode.
They had a different character. He had a baguette and a mustache and an accent, but they changed it in between episodes, so that's why it didn't make any sense.
Well, to be a little fair to the show's credit, Cooper did say, "Why would you tell us where Jacques is right now?" And they describe where Jacques is going to be right now, right before that. And then they cut to a Jacques who is at that place where they're saying right now. So I assumed that you would have figured it out.
Also, Cooper goes to a location in the middle of the woods with some people, and he walks into this mysterious place. By the way, there's other people there who already have Jacques' brother tied up. And Cooper just is cool with it. I thought he was playing it cool, maybe to like, because he's in the middle of the woods with strangers.
With, drugs.
What? Oh no! I knew that, but I mean that the Cooper himself is like, this is extremely off the record. What's happening right now?
Well, I mean, sort of. They're being held by authority if you think about it.
I think if you think about it, doesn't hold up in court.
This is a small town. No one cares.
Your Honor, if you think about it, I'm the one who should be free.
Okay. Think about it this way. This guy was caught with drugs. They don't have any police officers there right there. They tell like James and whoever like, "Oh, you caught him with drugs. Tie him up real quick, and we'll be on our way." And then they take care of him.
It does
Yeah,
all track.
it is supposed to be a little shady though, honestly, because they reveal with Ed that Ed sometimes does some some stakeout work and helps the cops, even though he's not a part of it at all. But it's such a small town that they kind of have to have someone who isn't one of the cops,
like a mercenary almost.
Yeah, exactly. He's just kind of hired to deal with it. So after this, we get a whole scene with Josie and Harry, and Josie found out about Catherine. There's two report books for the sawmill, and very dramatic. Catherine knows. Catherine is listening to this all, by the way, through over the speaker board or whatever they have. And the second book isn't there when Josie shows Harry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little weird. And they're like, oh, where'd it go? And then they're looking through that book, and there's nothing weird with it. It's revealed Catherine has the other book. And then right as she's putting the book away in a secret compartment, Pete opens up the door right behind her and goes, have you seen my tackle box? And then she's like, be a man, Pete. If you know that I was
Cooking the books.
If you're snooping around in my safe, just say something to my face. And he goes, maybe I'll just check the truck.
And he gives her like a... he puts his hat on and gives her like the coyest smile and like walks away.
Smirk, like, whatever. I do what I want.
Yeah, I kind of like his like subtle defiance against her, where she's like, "Why didn't you say anything to me?" And then he just kind of goes, "My lady," and like walks away.
What is? I'll check you later on size.
I'm not playing your game.
I'm not even kidding. I think Pete is like top 3, one of my favorite characters.
Pete's pretty good. I like that he comes off like he's getting pushed around, but he kind of isn't.
He's a bro, dude. He doesn't get dealt the cards. He plays them.
Yeah, that's his secret technique. He looks like he's getting played, but he's the player.
He is the player. So the next scene we get is Cooper is at the grave of Laura, and Dr. Jacoby is there. In a very dramatic outfit, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Jacoby reveals he couldn't be there because it was just too much for him. And he reveals to Cooper that he's a very sick man because he doesn't really give a shit about any of his patients, and it just means nothing to him. And he thought he was going to feel that way forever, except Laura came around and changed him.
Yeah, what was she, an angel? Like, the way people talk about her, she genuinely like was an angel.
That could be a theory. Maybe she was an angel.
Maybe. That's the reveal, is that she was the good thing in town, keeping away the evil. But she was the evil.
I mean, that's what I love about this show, though, is that you could take that angle. There's probably so much evidence to support that angle, too.
It's true. But yeah, it's like everything was considered for every theory, and so it all balances.
Like, just already think about that particular theory. The second she dies, everyone's dark secrets start bubbling up, and all the forest dark energy starts affecting the town. There's just so much you could do with it. You could say that now there's this red room that's revealed that could be hell, and those could be demons.
Yeah.
Maybe she's now in hell.
Wait, or even the like it's weirder than that. Like she's somehow spiritually trying to reach out through Cooper's dreams and like has constructed like a weird dream space out of Cooper's memories to create like a room she can contact him. Like there's so many weird things going on.
Cooper wears a black suit almost all the time, which is also kind of reminiscent of a priest a little bit. You could say that he's a priest.
It's true. This
is all stretching. This is all just for fun thinking about, because that's the fun of the show.
There's so many ways you could slice and dice this, but yeah, the little thing with Jacoby was like, I was actually kind of surprised that he just spills the beans on being a dick. Like,
that's what I love about the show. It's so refreshing. It's just honest with you.
Well, because you always think that, this will come out later, and it almost comes out in the same episode, the details you're learning, and it doesn't change anything. It changes everything, but it changes nothing. Like you have all this new information, but it hasn't brought you that much closer to figuring out who is dead. You just now, or who's dead? Who could be dead?
Who's dead in this town?
Who knows? But you don't know who killed Laura Palmer any more than you did a couple episodes ago, really. You
know more about Dr. Jacoby.
Yeah, I'm finding pieces of sky.
About Ed.
It's true.
I know more about everyone. Everyone's kind of getting revealed a little bit.
It's so dense.
Now that the truth and the death has come out or whatever. Okay, last point on here. I'm going to start wrapping up. The final scene is Hawk and Cooper chatting, and they're talking about spirits. I don't remember the whole thing, but it basically ends with Cooper asking Hawk do you think that your soul theory applies to Laura? Which Hawk says, it doesn't matter. Laura's 6 feet under, which pretty cold ass line.
Yeah,
uh,
pretty baller.
Leland is in the same place. I don't know where they're at. I think they're at the hotel or something. And people are dancing. And Leland wants to dance. And the big band music that played on the turntable when he first started dancing plays in his mind. Or maybe it's actually playing during this scene. I don't know.
I didn't even make that connection. I thought it was just playing in the room.
Yeah. And it's probably just playing in the room. But he wants to dance, and he's like begging people to dance with him, and he's sobbing. And he's trying to dance by himself, but he just kind of gives up. To which Mars laughs at.
Sorry.
Laughs at a man grieving. This is where I wrote the note down of Mars.
He's like comedically sad. He's got such a tortured face, but every time he's going through hell, it's shot as like slightly comedic. Like I mean, like it gets dark and it twists as it goes, but it starts off as what would be like a funny scenario in a TV show, but it's played straight and it's uncomfortable. Like the music doesn't stop the second that he freaks out. It's like it keeps playing, or the machinery doesn't just break and like drop him into the grave. It keeps going up and down. It's like this weird real life sucks kind of angle to it, and it makes it funny.
And that's an interesting thing to go with the violent media theory, because in a normal show, this would probably be shot as funny. This would be a sitcom scene where everyone laughs, and that's where the laughter would come in. And we're so trained by media to laugh at something like that. But it's that realness of it going on just a little too uncomfortably long. It kind of like reminds you of, this is a man grieving over his daughter's death. This is not the fun TV scene that this should be.
Yeah,
because it's not. It's someone dead.
And
someone grieving over it.
It's funny how, again, the show, different moments hit you differently.
Exactly. And I feel like that's kind of why we get that scene of Shelley laughing in the cafe, like immediately after, because I feel like the show knows that people are going to find that funny. But that was the last note. That's what the show ends on. They basically stop Leland from trying to dance with people, and he's very sad. I did miss a note that you had, and I found this kind of interesting. You said you don't think Diane belongs to the government or works with the government. You think Diane is just Dale's personal assistant.
Yeah, because he asks her to look into his stock options and stuff, or whatever he has. Like it's something about his retirement fund.
Mm-hmm. I find that interesting. I just thought that was an interesting little note that you brought up.
Thank you. It was I always wonder what Diane's real relation is, because like nobody else brings up Diane. He doesn't even talk about Diane with anyone else.
Yeah, no. There's not a lot known about Diane at this moment.
There's gonna be a fucking day
of the episode.
There's gonna be a day where Dale Cooper, we get like a moment where he's sitting in his hotel room and he's like listening back to all those tapes, and then somebody hears him referring to Diane in the tapes or something, and they go, "Who's Diane?" And he goes, "Oh, I just use that as I talk to a fake woman to make notes." Like it's like something like that.
Is that your theory? Your current theory?
I mean, I don't think that's true, because in the first episode he like tells her to like assign certain agents to certain things when he's leaving home base. But I do genuinely think that like she might not work for the government.
Interesting.
But
we'll see how it plays out. I just thought that was I always love hearing your theories on what's going on in the show.
I can't wait to be at the end of this and see what you think, what your thoughts have been this whole time secretly.
Oh man, I have a lot of thoughts about the show. I hold back so much.
Yeah, I'm sure you really have your own personal theories bonking around.
But that's what's so fun about the show to me, is talking about the theories. And I'm curious what you think as someone who's experiencing it without knowing what other people think now. Because I know what I kind of thought when I first watched it, but it's hard to think about that now after hearing it. Years and years of people trying to crack what the show's about. So when I get to watch it with some completely fresh, it's like I'm kind of getting to experience that brand new uh, case solving again.
And the best part is, I have no incentive to look up any theories right now. I really don't. I don't want to. That's what's so fun about the show. Is like I don't want answers. I want. I want more.
Exactly. That's the way to enjoy it, in my opinion. And that's pretty much the episode. Any notes about it? About any particular thing I didn't cover, or
Well, here's the thing. I think. Well, no notes, but I was gonna say I want to. I want to update my Who Killed Laura Palmer.
well, not yet, not yet.
Oh no. Okay. No.
Because
No notes.
don't worry, I'll get it to that. I'm always remembering all this stuff.
I'm always remembering.
But one of the things that I talked about with this episode, I feel like this episode is a big theme to the show. And I talked about it a little bit with the violent media thing, but I think overall it really brings an importance onto Laura Palmer, and I find it super interesting for that. And I'm just kind of restating what I've said throughout it, but I think it's something to think about during the future episodes because it gets less poignant in season 2. So we got to enjoy the thought-provoking stuff while we can. So, Mars, I have 2 questions for you. One, what would you rate that episode out of 10?
I really liked it. That was a good episode. I think that is a solid 9 out of 10 for me.
Wow, really?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I've really loved all the episodes so far. They've been super fun and well written, but I liked this one because it felt like it was moving at a much healthier pace. And there was a lot of neat and weird tragic stuff that happens. Like it's like a good balance of revealing more details about a character's relationship to another character while also sort of like introducing this like weird stuff about the world. Like the world got bigger in this episode and I really dug that.
This is kind of another question pertaining to that. What do you think of Cousin Maddie? Because we just get introduced to her. We don't really know anything about her.
I mean, I didn't even realize that she was Laura Palmer's actor until I asked you. But I'm kind of curious what role she'll play. She seems kind of like a whatever right now. I really don't know anything about her.
That's fair. Yeah. I would say probably
Yeah, what's yours?
maybe like an 8 out of 10. I really like episode 3. That one's a 9 out of 10 for me. Because there's just so many funny moments, and I love the funny moments in the show. But this one's a whole lot heavier one, I would say.
Yeah, this one was much more real life.
Yeah, really more. Well, and then there's like shit like the Bookhouse Club.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then also the Bookhouse Boys in there, which
Yeah,
I've never heard in a million years anyone talk about the Bookhouse Boys in relation to this show. So that was so interesting to learn that that exists at all.
And again, I'm going to be honest, I forgot that was a thing.
It's such a weird choice.
All right, I have one last question for you, Mars. Who do you think killed Laura Palmer?
Here's the thing. I think Bob did it, right? But I don't know how Bob did it. And I get the vibe that Leo is still very much involved or in play.
Because your previous theory, to reinstate for the people who watched the last episode, was that it's not just Leo, but it was Leo and other people. The other one was, I think his name is Snake, Mike, like the
Blondie
friend, Mike, yeah, Blondie, and then another guy that I can't remember.
Yeah, it was something, but now I know that it wasn't. It definitely wasn't Bobby. Bobby's out of that list of suspects.
Was Bobby in that list in the first place?
Yeah, I definitely was considering Bobby to have been there in some capacity.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or at least maybe, I don't know. I'm not listening to these episodes.
No, I don't think he said Bobby. I think he specifically said Mike and someone else, but I can't remember.
Interesting, but I mean, I definitely agree with Cooper's reading of Bobby in the first episode, which is he didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. So your current theory is that it's somehow Leo and somehow Bob.
Yes. Somehow Leo and Bob have done something bad.
Okay. It's pretty interesting. We'll see how that plays out. And you know who we should tell this about?
A little lady named Diane.
Diane. Hold on, I'm grabbing my handy dandy tape recorder.
Okay, I see you've got it.
Get the music's funny. I was like, am I crazy? Do I just not hear anything? Anyways,
Diane.
These bitches. Say these bitches.
These
Mars,
bitches are
they're crazy.
choreography tape.